And now we're doing the entire finale as one video on the same day as I recorded the audio commentary for the previous episode. So let's get right to it, shall we? And if you hear that dingling in the background, that's my cat Namali Bronze Sunrise. But in any case, on to the main episode. Well, the three-part finale anyways. Now, what I think I kind of originally had in mind as I'm watching this, I'm trying to remember what other idea I had for the finale, because I think it was originally supposed to be 7 to 8 episodes for the whole series, but as I was running out of time, because the day I finished the entire three-part episode series, I was about to go on vacation to Florida to be with my family. And essentially, I had to finish this up, so I had to shorten it down to 5 episodes as opposed to 7 or 8. Now, you could say that it's kind of an odd choice, or it's kind of stealing an idea that Raptor Boy 101 did for his season finale of season 1 of Dino Island, but I think it's still a pretty good idea, even if it is very similar to what Raptor Boy 101 did for Dino Island, except that in this case, it's not like, a random three-way fight between the Baryonyx, the T-Rex, and the Spinosaur family. In this case, there's actually a main reason why these two families are coming into contact with each other again, is because Sphinx was trying to scavenge off the Tyrannosaur family's kill, and then in self-defense, Pharaoh comes to protect her son, so that way he wouldn't get killed and eaten. And I also like how I pitched Roberta's roars. As you know, she's extremely old, so of course she and Pharaoh are gonna have extremely deepened roars. And I like how cocky Sphinx is and standing his ground. Like, he should not have stood his ground here for this bit. I will admit, he should not have stood his ground. He should have just booked it right out of there. But instead, he just stood his ground like a little idiot and winds up killing both. And because of him, both his mother and Soros and Tyrannos' mother wind up dying. So you could blame it all on Sphinx for being a little cocky dude, for not backing down. Although I do like that panning shot there. Although these couple of shots here were kind of difficult because the camera was focusing on stuff that was in the background rather than the foreground. So as you can see, I constantly had to somewhat tap on the camera or the phone so that way it can focus on the subject that's supposed to be focusing on, as opposed to be focusing what it shouldn't be focusing on, if you get what I mean. And I do like how I actually had both of them roar at the same time. That's kind of a nice thing, or a nice little touch I added. Now, what was supposed to happen here was that Roberta crunches, or basically disarms, Pharaoh of her left arm, which is what's supposed to happen here, but unfortunately, as you can tell by the music, it didn't quite fit with that bit. But I do like how, where even though Pharaoh is disarmed with one arm, she still manages to smack down Roberta with her right arm, and then bites down on Roberta's scar as payback, if you will. That's what was supposed to happen, is that she smacks her down and then bites down on her scar. And as you can see, when I actually dipped her snout in the Apatosaurus corpse like it was a French fry. And as you can see, I did the same thing here for Roberta's mouth as well. I actually used 2 packets of ketchup for this episode. And yep, that was kind of not done well there. But it was basically supposed to be like, they both come in and then bam, they basically close jaws around their necks. And that was actually the first time I added that extra sound effect in. And well, now here's the second part. And I like how I used the Ornithochirus, the Death of the Ornithochirus theme from Walking with Dinosaurs, because it actually fits kind of well since these are both queens. Or at least they're both queens of their species. Even though there's many queens of both species, but still. Now, as I was actually as I was halfway done through this particular part, yeah, no, they didn't follow the right, or she didn't follow the right angle, but now, when I was halfway done filming through this particular part, it was actually beginning to rain, which is why I say that as rain begins to fall, Soros and Tyrannos leave the area solemnly, and Sphinx also takes his lead because it was actually beginning to rain. Yep, as you saw by that droplet there. Now, what I don't like is how, yeah, you can see how he kind of falls over because I was trying to balance him on the plants, and fortunately, it just didn't happen. So I had to reprop him up, so that way it looks like he's still mourning the loss of his mother. Now, I will say though that when recording the music, like the Death of the Ornithochirus theme, I actually wound up, I actually wound up getting a bit emotional, if you could say. Like it was actually pulling at my heartstrings a bit, just listening while I was recording the entire track, or not the entire track, but most of the track. It actually it actually tugged at my heartstrings a bit. So it's actually kind of fitting that the saddest moment fits with the saddest track. And the last part here that we're about to see was actually filmed a couple of hours, or it was actually filmed an hour after this part was done, after it stopped raining. So I had enough time to film this last part, where, it's kind of like where we see all the animals that we saw throughout the series as our final goodbye. And ironically enough, even though I say there's a capuchin up in a tree, I actually thought I filmed the capuchin up on a plant when it turns out that I've tried looking for it and I still can't find it to this day. Because I remember that I actually filmed the monkey on a plant, but I guess it didn't show. Oops. And I figured, hey, I may as well use the patio here as like a wet moss covered wasteland, if you will, I can say. And this is supposed to be like a cliff. This basically is the same area where we saw the battle, where we had the battle, as well as the previous episode. But it's just the three juvenile characters now having claimed their thrones as the new kings of the island. Well, this is the entirety of the Island of Dwarfs series, and so with that, I bid you adieu. Goodbye, everybody.